Hey, what's happening, guys? Dave Brown here with jamplay.com, and it is week 9 of Strumming Strategies. Where does the course go? The course is almost finished. We got one more week after this. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Hopefully, this has been helpful for you. Today, we got a lot on the docket. So awesome. Good news is we're going to talk about some stuff that's kind of pushing the boundaries of what we're capable. I'm just going to kind of throw you to the wolves. But good news is I'm only going to hold you responsible for maybe like one or two things. So, there will be a focus this week. But again, in this strumming course, I wanted to give you the basics. I wanted you to be able to just, most of you are just going to be practicing the chords and basic lessons and songs like those songs from weeks 1 through 6, maybe 7, I can't remember at this point. But yeah, you're generally speaking just trying to get the chords going. But for those of you who are ready to move on, and for those of you who are the first group, but I would just like to understand of what would be the next step after this. This is where, like, last week and this week and definitely next week as well, is where you would start forging ahead after this. So I just wanted to give you some of it. Sometimes it's good to just kind of push the envelope a little bit to see, maybe we didn't check off all the boxes, but it doesn't mean you're not capable of going, something a little more advanced. So today we got 7th chords, we got triplets, and we got pentatonic fills. We got a blues. We're gonna revisit some country grass, an easy version of country grass with these 7 chords. So the main takeaways would be the triplets and just getting some single notes under the fingers today. So, thanks for hanging. We will try and field some questions at the end if you have them. So just make sure you write them in the little box right there and enjoy yourself. Grab your guitar, have fun. Let's do this. So we're going to start with triplets. So a triplet is a subdivision of the beat that happens to be 3. Okay, trip, tricycle. Prefixes. They're great. So, sorry, I've been in school mode all day. So, the idea would be that you'd be dividing in 3, where you would normally divide it in 2 or just play a quarter note on 1. So every time you tap your foot, you would have to play 3 things, right? So an easy way to start thinking about that would just be to say, like, throw a click on. Here, I'll get a click going. And, I'll put it at like 60 beats per minute. And the idea, again, is that you would divide it in 3. Now, technically what we would say is 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a, 4 and a, or some people say like 1 olet, 2 olet, 3 olet, triple olet, triple olet, triple olet. But an easier concept for students to grasp right off the bat, if you've never dealt with a triplet before, is you're essentially counting to 3. It's 3 things, and the ones need to land in the clicks. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so you can see, like, I kind of had to fix it for a second. So you might feel like you notice that you're going too fast or too slow, and so you need to kind of reconfigure it so that the ones always hit on the click. 1, 2, 3, 1. And so not that it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that they have to be all even. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and depending on what kind of music you listen to, the triplet might feel pretty natural. It's literally everywhere. It doesn't matter what genre you listen to, but it's more prominent than others. For instance, a 12-bar blues often is, instead of 4/4, it's 12/8 time. We're not going to get into 12/8, but essentially 4/4 is 12. Sorry, I said that backwards. 12/8 is 4/4. Essentially, just every note's divided by a triplet. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Da, 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 boom, 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 boom. Things like. We're essentially going to be doing like a 12/8 blues kind of thing today, except not, because it's going to be 4. But it's got that triplet feel, so it'll serve the cause. So, okay, so that's the general way to count triplets against a click. Now, as far as strumming goes or picking, we haven't even dealt with any picking because guess what? This is a strumming course, so why would we deal with picking? Except for today we will. But we're going to talk about that again today. What we have been dealing with is strumming in a strumming course, which is convenient. So when we strum eighth notes, generally speaking, what we're doing is we're going down on the number and up on the and. Okay, so 1, right? Yeah, that's close enough. So that's the idea, is you're going down, up, down, up. Guess what? 2 is an even number. So that never gets messed with. It's pretty consistent, you know? However, 3 is an odd number. So that leaves us with a predicament. You can either go down, up, down. You know, in theory, you want to... Good alternate strumming or good alternate picking would say that you always go down on a number, right? So that would be, you know, if you were to do that with a nonstop measure of triplets, it would be down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down. So that you have to do 2 downs in a row, which it has a particular tone. A down strum has a good tone to it, and an up strum has a good tone to it, but they're 2 slightly different tones, right? So you want to be able to... Ultimately, at the end of the day, you should be always choosing tone, and like whatever you want it to sound like, you do whatever it takes to make it sound like that. You know, but there's logistics, you know. So, and that's what I'm trying to teach you through this course and through my other courses, is what the precedent is and how to kind of deviate if necessary. So, is again, you know, 2 downs in a row might become cumbersome, but it's got a good tone to it. It has a consistent, again, the down strum has a stronger tone to it. We'll say dominant, more dominant tone. It's, you know, debatable semantics perhaps, but it's consistent. Again, when you line up the downbeat with the down strum, it at least provides a consistency in tone across the beats, so that anytime you hear a downbeat, it's that kind of particular sound. It's this, not this. You know? So, again, it's subtle. You might not even pick up on it, but eventually when your ears get really attuned, you can kind of listen to guitar players play, and you can kind of tell if they're doing an up strum or down strum just by the quality of the ring. The way the chord rings, that is. I've never said it like that. Why did I say it like that? I don't know. Can't go back now. Anywho, so down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. That's one option. But again, you're gonna get tripped up. It's gonna feel weird, even though the tone's consistent. You know, for the cause, whatever, you may feel that you hate it. So you can just as easily do down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And that's particularly good when you're doing a lot of them. Like if you're just doing one beat of a triplet, like we'll have in this blues, you know, down, up, down, down. That's probably going to be the best way to do it, because you just want to get back on track of the alternating strumming, and, you know, when we check out the scale, the alternating picking as well. But, especially if you're doing a full measure of triplets, 1 and 2, it's just way easier to go right along my automobile, whatever, you know. It's just easier to go down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, up. And so we're going to explore what both of those feel like and how it feels to go from eighth notes to triplets. That's the first thing we're going to do today. Again, we're going to talk about 7th chords today. We're not going to go crazy overboard with them. I'm just going to show them to you so that you know how to make them. And if you ever need to make them, you can reference this chart. Or if you like the sound of them, you can start exploring, blah, 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 blah. We're going to use a couple of them, obviously, in the blues today. And we're going to go back and do country grass with 7th chord versions, but none of that is a technical requirement. Like if you just want to explore some of those 7th chords, see what they sound like, have fun, make them, but primarily focus on the blues, which is just 3 out of those 8 bar 7 chords. Great, that's fine too. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the swing backing track at 42, the drum beat, and we're gonna do 2 bars of eighth notes, followed by 2 bars of non-stop triplets. Okay, so what that's going to sound like is, and again, I'm going to get into the 7 chords in a second, but we might as well learn one right now just to kind of do this example. So if you make an E chord, first finger on the 3rd string, 1st fret, 2 and 3 up as a pair, so 5th string, 2nd fret, 4th string, 2nd fret, middle ring. That's an E chord. An E7 chord's even easier than that. You just take your ring finger off. It's just your first and your second finger. Okay? We'll learn another option later where you can add the pinky onto the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, which is nice. You get this minor second between those notes. So, you know, there's just different tonal options. But we're going to keep it simple. Nice E7 right here. And again, we're going to have 2 bars of 8th notes, and we're going to do swing just to keep it simple. Again, a swing, now that we're talking about triplets today, I should mention this. Probably did before, but even if I didn't, and or just to remain consistent, a triplet is a division of 3. A swing is that same division of 3 of the beat. We're just missing the middle beat. So instead of 1 and 2 and it's 1 and 2, but it's still da 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 da. You're just skipping out on the middle one, and it gives a slightly different feel. Obviously, we already covered swing versus straight 8th notes. So another good thing to do later would be to take the straight drum backing tracks, and maybe this makes sense if I explain this after we do the example, but I think you guys are with me. If you take the straight drum backing tracks and go from straight 8th notes to triplets, that's a different feel, and maybe I'll demo that in a second. But today we're just going to work on swing into triplet because it's just easier, because you're basically already doing that when you're already doing triplets when you go into the triplets from the swing, so it feels more natural. Okay, so again, the first one is going to be 2 bars of 8th notes followed by 2 bars of non-stop triplets, and it'll sound like this. 1, 2, We're gonna jump right in. We're gonna put it against the drum backing track really quick, and then I'll demo that against how you say straight backing track. So again, here's swing, 42 beats per minute. These were from, I don't know, guys, week 2. I want to say week 3, give or take. But you can go back if you are a Jam Play member and pick those up. You can also just go on YouTube and find a drum backing track that's swing 42 beats per minute or slower or faster. Here we go. 2 bars each. 2, 3, and 4, and... that might mess with your head. Back to 8th. Because when you're doing the triplets, your foot's going down and your arm's going up. So that might be something that you need to get used to. Here we go in triplets. Wonderful. Okay, so that's against how you say swing. Do I keep saying that? Let's go to, just for a quick grab right here. This is 68 beats per minute. This is just going to demo, so I'm just going to do it faster anyway. But this is straight 8ths into the triplets. 3 and 4 and... get the idea. It's a different feel altogether, almost. Even though it's the exact same exercise. So practice both of them. You know, again, bare minimum is just kind of exploring it against the triplets. By triplets, I mean swing. So it feels a little more natural. The second option, triplet strumming option 2, is going to kind of, it's going to be a little different. Otherwise, we wouldn't have an option number 2. We would just stick with option number 1. Option number 2 is going to play just the single root note on the last, the of the triplet, right? And so instead of, this is going to get a little weirder, so you're going to have multiple downs in a row. We're not going to do a full strum. This will feel a little more natural than a full strum, but it's just a step in the right direction. So instead, it's going to go 1 and up. So you'll play that root and then strum it again to start it. So it's down, up, root, down, up, root, down, up, root, down. Doing it now. Okay, so let's put it against that same backing track and have fun with it. Yeah. Have fun with it. Okay. Wait for it. Swing 42. Here we go. Same deal. 2 bars each. We're going to start with a regular 8th note swung. 8th notes into that. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Triplets. Okay, guys, you're doing great. It's pretty approachable, right? It's a little weird at first, but you'll get it. So, okay, I'm going to introduce the first single note stuff that we've done this entire course. This is the open pentatonic scale, G major and or E minor. And we're going to take it, and we're going to learn it. It's pretty straightforward. It's not crucial that you learn it and get it perfect this week. You know, you can still learn the blues thing. And again, the blues thing, we're going to be doing some advanced stuff that and by advanced, I mean intermediate, that, you know, might push you a little bit, but you could probably hang if you just like really take the time to get that one little thing. The scale itself, again, is where those little licks in between the chords are going to be pulled from. So we'll check that out. Okay, so the scale, which I have tabbed out, I don't have like a visual aid of it, but it's important to kind of think in terms, the guitar is very visual, it's very geometrical, you're always looking for shapes and patterns. And so for me, the way I think about it, first of all, you're going to be playing all the strings open, all the open strings are going to get played. And there's going to be 2 notes per string, so there's always going to be an open string and then a fretted note, okay? And the strings 1, 2, and 6 are all going to be 3rd frets. And so since they're going to be on the 3rd frets, we're going to use our ring finger for them. Okay? Okay. Strings 5, 4, and 3 are all going to be your middle finger. Okay, so middle finger. So you'll kick it off with your ring, but immediately go into 3 strings in a row with your middle finger before finishing off with 2. Excuse me, 3rd frets on the 1st and 2nd string. So that's it. That's all there is. So let's just get it under our fingers really quick. We're just going to play it all downstrokes. I'm just going to walk you through it nice and slow. Again, it's written as 8th notes. We're going to practice it as 8th notes, but you can practice it at quarter notes. You can practice it at whole notes. Who cares? Like, just go slow, get it under your fingers. Don't rush through it. It's tempting. It's a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of fun things, for lack of a better term, that you can do with it. But it is quality over speed, always. So you got the open 6th string. You got that 3rd fret with your ring finger. Middle finger on the next 3 strings. So we got open strings, middle finger, open string, middle finger, open string, middle finger, and then open string 3rd fret on the next 2. Okay, let's see if we can do that again. We'll just go up. Okay, so open 3, open 2, open 2, open 2, open 3, open 3. Great. Let's see if we can go backwards now. So it's going to go 3, open, 3, open, 2, open, 2, open, 2, open, 3, open. 3, open, middle finger, middle finger, one more middle finger, 6th string ring finger. Okay, great. I think you're all with me. Sorry, I had an itch. I'm human. But let's play through that really quick. And by really quick, I mean really slow. And we'll see if we can play all the way up and all the way down. And what we're going to do is, so generally speaking, when you're playing scales like this, when you reach the last note in the scale, the highest note, you have an option of doubling on it. So for instance, if I were to play the scale, you could double down on the last note to come back down the scale so that there's that kind of symmetry. Or, hear me out, we're going to not do that. We're just going to play right through the scale. So you can go. Okay. Both are good to practice. Anytime you can. So we're about to practice alternate picking, which will be pretty consistent while playing this, at least when doing the 8th notes. But it's good to be able to play it anyway. So not anyway like that. It's good to be any way you can, I should say. So maybe instead of starting with a downstroke, you start with an upstroke or strum, depending on. Well, it was scale, so we're doing upstroke. Sorry, guys, I'm tired. Did I mention that? Anyway, so let's talk about the alternate picking now. Now, you know what? We're gonna play one more time, just downstrokes. Here we go. Ready? Open, 3rd fret. Open, 2nd fret. Open, 2nd fret. Open, 2nd fret. Open, 3rd fret. Open, 3rd fret. Open, 3rd fret. Open, 2nd fret. Open. Always want to be thinking like one step ahead with this eventually once you get it. Definitely memorize this if you can. And always try to think one step ahead. That's always worth it. Okay. So that's the scale. Let's try alternate picking now. So alternate picking is exactly like strumming. You're going down on the numbers and up on the and. So you're already familiar with that concept. It's just it's way more localized now instead of strumming through all those strings. Okay. So generally speaking, when you're picking, if this is neutral, I don't know if you can get close in on a pick. I always pick very transparent. You can barely see that. Why did I do that? Anyway, so if we're talking about pick placement, if you point it directly into the sound hole and completely flat against the string, we'll call that neutral, okay? So from there, what I want you to do, we've probably already talked about it, but I want you to tilt down towards the ground. You don't want to be completely flat, so that it's, but you want to like maybe a 45-degree angle, maybe a little thinner, 35 degrees, we'll say. And when you're picking through, again, if we're technically still flat against the string, if we came from that neutral starting point straight in, what you want to do is you want to lift the back end, so the right end up a little bit, so that it's only this part, the one that's closest to the headstock that's technically touching the string. That's the only point in contact. It's right on the side of the pick. It's never flat against it. Well, it's not. I shouldn't say that. You can do that too, especially when strumming. That's a little more appropriate. But you'll find, depending on what angle you go at, there's different tones to the pick. And again, like I said, ultimately you're just trying to emulate whatever you're hearing the best you can. So whatever it takes, but there's consistencies and things and standards that we should check out. So this is the standard. So flat against the pick, or pick flat against the string, slightly down at like a 45 to 35 degree angle, back end up a little bit, and then that should just, again, when you're going through the string, ideally what you're doing is very relaxed, so that it's almost like you're holding the pick and you're trying to move your hand down, and the pick's holding on for its dear life. It's holding on for its, and then all of a sudden it just gives way, like water tension. You add that last one drop that pushes it over the edge, okay? Likewise, when going up, you want that same sort of lack of resistance, okay? But this time it's going to be the opposite end. If we went down on the bottom left, it's going to come up on the upper right. And so if you take a look at my picks, I'm not able to show you right now, but they're literally shaved only on, like, they noticeably worn on the bottom left and the upper right, and not the other way around, because that's how it always, it's the best way to slice through. And so that's the idea, is that you're going to go down and then up. So let's just try that really quick. We're just going to go down and up on an open string, third string preferably, but feel free to harmonize if you want. It's going to sound like poo, but let's go with the third string. So again, you're going down when your foot hits the ground and up when your foot goes in the air. You don't necessarily have to tap your foot, but it's good to establish a connection. Notice I'm also leaning my head forward and backwards. Literally everything's going in the same direction. So as soon as something goes against the grain, you should notice it and hopefully correct it. This is something that some of you will find intuitive, and some of you will struggle, and you need a teacher to tell you that you're screwing up, because for some reason there's something off that you're just not able. It's not that you're not willing to pay attention to it, it's just you're not able to pay attention to it, okay? Because your mind is preoccupied by something that seems simple, but there's a lot going on. Left hand, right hand, tapping the foot, counting, whatever have you. Okay, so you just want to get comfortable with that. Again, ideally your hand would kind of, this area of your thumb, right around the edge of the hand, would kind of dig into the sixth string. And then notice, you kind of want this motion where your hand is essentially flat on a table, and it can only move left or right. The idea is, like, you always want to stay contact with the table, so the only option is to move left and right like that. And so that's the same. Again, super relaxed. That's what we're going for. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, that's what we're going for. Now, obviously, when you're playing the sixth string open, you can't rest your hand, so you kind of have to float, but that's okay. What I will say is, that's all I wanted to say. So we're going to try and alternate pick that scale now. So we're going to go, because there's two notes, it happens to work out very well. That it does get it turned around a little bit on the way back, but you'll be going up and doing upstrokes at that string, so that'll also feel natural. Yeah, so let's just try it. You got down on the open sixth string, up on the third fret, coming back down to the fifth string, up on the second fret, down on the open fourth, up on the second fret of the fourth, down on the third, up on the third, second fret of the third string, down on the second string, up on the third fret with your ring finger, down on the first string, up with your ring finger, down on the open string, up on that second string, third fret that is, open second string, up on that second fret of the third string, down on the open third string, up on the second fret of the fourth string, down on the fourth string, up on the second fret of the fifth string, down on the fifth string, down up on the third fret of the sixth string, down on the open sixth string. So that's the idea. Foot goes up in the air, pick goes up in the air. Okay, so we're going to try a little slower than that. We're going to go back to that same exact drum backing track that we did for the triplets. However, what I just played just then was straight. I went 1 and 2 and 3 and... So you can practice that again, just like the strumming. You can always... Now that you know what eighth notes and triplets are, both of those are good to practice against both straight drum backing tracks as well as swung drum backing tracks. Those are the two general feels you'll ever have to deal with. There are more, but as a campfire hero, that's a pretty good start, good swath of what you might encounter. So let's try it with the drum. So that's straight eighth notes. Let's try it. Swung eighth notes would be versus, but we're gonna swing. Why? Because swinging is hip, man. Here we go. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Now, if you can't hang right now, it's fine. Honestly, probably most of you might have trouble hanging right now, but I'm confident if you do this, just get the scale under your fingers for several days, you know, by the end of the week, you should be able to at least do this eighth note example. So what I'm doing right now, I realized I messed up, actually. I'm not technically with playing what's written. What's written stops on the last note and kind of hangs before it starts again. What I ended up doing is just keeping it going. Where there's all notes are even and there's no pauses. You're just... So some measures might start on like the fourth string or like randomly through. That's just something that'll start to feel natural. Here's technically what's written. When I get to that open sixth string, we're just gonna hang for a second because it's pretty much finished. Then start again. Let's do that one more time and then move on to triplets. So you can see how it kind of hangs for a second. Great. Triplets, exact same thing. You again, same with the strum pattern where you go down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. I wouldn't worry about that today. You know, again, it's consistency in tone, which is always welcomed, but simplicity, facilitation of ease is generally appreciated as well. So you're just gonna go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. I don't expect most of you to hang right now. So I'm gonna put on a click. You can. We'll go slower. What I said at the beginning was, I'm not gonna hold you accountable. All this. This is one of the things I'm definitely not gonna hold you accountable. Playing this scale with triplets this week. Some of you might be able to and have a lot of fun with it. Great, go nuts. But most of you probably won't, and I wouldn't stress on it. I would just get most of you, half of you. I would probably say, you know, should just explore the scale. Get it under your fingers. Try and play at least with quarter notes with downstrokes with a click at any tempo, certain tempos. Then another 25% of you might feel comfortable doing the eighth note thing, even if it's a little slower. Triplet thing is for the elite and or intermediate players who happen to be tuning in. So don't stress out. Moral of the story. Here's 30 beats per minute. So here's the problem with 30 beats. Anything below 40 becomes semi-difficult to subdivide. However, since we're fitting 3 notes in, it should feel fairly, you know, it might take a second to really line up those ones. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. But once you're in that groove, there's enough notes in between those clicks where you can kind of judge the space evenly. Although it might be difficult for some. Because that's a lot of space right there, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Here we go. We'll do it one more time. So that was the way, that's technically what's written. You can keep on going, so I'll just keep going after this one. So now that one's starting on the second, I'm sorry, the 5th string. So, again, that's now you know what that scale would sound like with triplets. Not holding on, most of you to it, but you're welcome if you're ready for it, because it's just more information for you to have fun with. So, one thing I'll say with this scale, it's gonna work over a lot of things. Like, you can start to kind of mess around. Like, here's me just playing the scale over today's song that I promise we're gonna get into in a second. What am I doing? So if you just literally play the scale over this backing track, it's going to sound good the whole time. And then you can even start messing with it. So if you want, like... But then you can start kind of like, you know... Little things like that, what they are. Okay, so this scale, we got to keep moving. I got stuff to do, but I'm just going to show you the little things you can think about if you wanted to mess around. Again, a lot of stuff to be thrown at you today, not all a requirement. Okay, so what really makes this scale a little more human instead of just like pressing buttons is bending the notes. For instance, on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string, if you can kind of bend those notes slightly sharp, which we're going to practice today. Again, I'm throwing you a scale and I'm throwing you bends right off the bat. We're just to the wolves, you know what I'm saying? Some of you can hang, it's fine. And if not, you can totally play it simple. We'll get there, but we can really do a simplified version of today's thing too. So there's no pressure today. Instead of just playing the note, if you push up on it sharp, and then the thing is, so what you don't want, there's 2 options technically. You can bring it up and then bring it back down. But what really sounds great is bending it up and muting it before you bring it back to the original pitch, the 3rd fret. So here's the 3rd fret. There's a slightly out of tune. So against a track, you know. So doing those little tweaks can make it sound like it's coming to life a little more. Okay, moving on. That's why did I get caught up in that? It's fun. That's why. Okay, today's song is a blues, but we got to learn these 7 chords. So again, we're gonna blow right through these 2. Okay, it's fine. You'll be fine. These are all basically the chords. I don't know if you guys can even see this. No, it's gonna get whited out. Anyway, these are jam play. I'm sure we'll put it up. But these are all basically the open chords. Okay. But with slight alterations. The B7 is completely new, so we're gonna have to work on that one a little bit. But other than that, they're all slight alterations of the chords you already know how to make. So I'm gonna walk you through how to make them really quick, then we're gonna jump into this. Yes. So if you got a G chord, what I want you to do is put your first finger on the first string, first fret, take your pinky off. That's a G7. So what does the 7 mean? The 7 mean is just, it's, you know, most notes or most chords are from the scale, and the scale is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Most chords are like the 1, the 3, and the 5, or the do, mi, sol, do, mi, sol. 7 chords go to the 7th scale degree. Do, mi, sol, ti. There are different types of 7 chords. Today we're going to learn dominant 7, which is a lowered 7. It's slightly different. It's a little more tension. We're also going to learn a minor 7, which has that same note, but just a flat third. So don't get caught up in the theory. Just that's what's happening. Okay. So you can hear the tension. It wants to resolve. Technically, it's a 5 chord and wants to resolve to the 1 chord, so which is C. So E, we already learned E7. You take your ring finger off, and that's E7. You can, and like I said before, you can also put your pinky on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string with it. Okay, that's another E7. A7, we got a couple different options, although only one's written. Here's an A, take your first finger off. Congratulations, you got an A7. If you wanted to, you can put your pinky on the 1st string, 3rd fret. And you'll start to notice that you can totally jump back and forth between those. You can do whatever you want. Nobody's judging. Okay. Here's a D chord. A D7 is sort of like an upside down D chord. It's like a triangle. So the triangle goes in reverse. So you're gonna start it different. It's almost like an A minor or a C. Almost. First finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string. Middle finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Ring finger on the 1st string, 2nd fret. So that's a regular D, that's a D7. So some of these you can kind of go right from the normal chord and just add a finger or slightly alter something. Some of them you're going to have to rearrange your fingers completely to make it happen. Anyway, here's a C chord. All we have to do is add our pinky to the 3rd string, 3rd fret. You put the line, the coconut down. Okay, so that's C7, that's a good one. E minor 7. So normally I tell you to make E minor with 2 and 3. I'm gonna ask you to make it with 1 and 2. And then if you put honestly, you could literally just do your first finger. That's an E minor 7 technically because it's the D right there, but doesn't sound as good as this one. So middle finger on the you're making E minor. Add your pinky to that, just like the E7. We added it to the 3rd fret on the 2nd string. Same thing for E minor, 3rd fret, 2nd string. It's very, you'll hear these all over the place. Dominant 7 chords, yeah, but that E minor 7, Wish You Were Here, kind of a vibe. Couple different things. A minor, no ring finger means A minor 7, just like the E, right? So you have E, E7, A minor 7. Okay, you can, just like the A7, you can also add your pinky to that 1st string, 3rd fret. Angie from the Rolling Stones, that kind of thing. This is the other one that we really got to learn today that's completely new. So here, let's start with this. This is a B7. First finger on the 1st fret of the 4th string. The rest of your fingers are going to be on the 2nd frets, and they're going to skip strings. So middle finger is going to go on the 5th string, 2nd fret. Ring finger is going to go on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Pinky is going to go on the 1st string, 2nd fret. No 6th string. It's basically a C7 down a half fret. Throw it away. Let's see if we can make it again. First finger on the 1st fret of the 4th string. Middle finger above it. Ring finger below it. Pinky skips a string down to the 1st string. That's going to want to resolve very nicely to E7, which is how it's going to roll. So those are your 7 chords. Don't say I never told you. We're not going to go completely overboard. Well, yeah, I'm going to give you plenty of opportunity to practice them this week if you want, but you don't even have to. So here's the thing with it, especially if it just says 7. any of these 7 chords, if they just say 7 next to them, or even minor 7, don't ever stress out about it. If it says D7, you can just play a D. It's fine. Nobody's going to hate you. If it says A7, you can play an A. You know, it's a slightly different thing. It's like saying hey versus what's up. You know, both are greetings, but they're, I don't know. I don't know if that metaphor is 100% solid, but we won't worry about that. So that's the idea. So again, even today, when we're working on this evening blues this evening, you want to try the 7 chords, but you don't have to. You can totally play E, A. B7 you're going to have to play. There's no option for an open B chord whatsoever, except for this B7 chord. So get on it. That's all I can say. We're going to break it up into little sections. This went by pretty quick, but luckily we'll be fine. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to throw some hammer-ons and stuff too. So we're going to grab that E7 chord, no ring finger. Right? You're going to start with the root twice. Then I want you to strum the chord, but hammer your first finger on. So again, hammer is extra. So you could just go, okay? Or you can go, you could even hammer both. But I only want you to hammer your first or nothing. So after that, this is going to get tricky. We're going to make an A, but we're going to do it in a very unconventional way. We're just going to collapse our middle finger. And even if it's not perfect, we just need an upstroke on it to give it a little flavor before we go right back to that same E7 with the hammer. So let's just try that. If you can get that, that's like a big thing about this piece today that you can walk away with. It, you know, might take a little practice, but if you can walk away with this, that's a cool thing to be able to do, right? So you're going down on that with a hammer, or not, you know, up on the A by just collapsing, and then back down with the hammer. Okay, so here it is without the hammer. Okay, here it is with the hammer. Notice how short that second E is after the A. You want to control that. You got to throw your right hand against the strings, really mute it, and it'll sound much more professional, huh? I'm also kind of throwing my left hand at it. Whatever you throw the book at it. Whatever you got to do. So you're just playing the open 6th string to kind of finish out that measure. It's all 8th notes, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So that's a really great thing. What I would totally recommend, like even if you don't learn this whole song, if you just take that one measure and just see if you can loop it and groove it against the drum backing track, that alone is something great to walk away with, right? So again, it's 1 and 2 and 4. So it's all downstrokes except for that up on the A. Okay, so anywhere it says E, where some places it doesn't. And I don't know if we actually talked about this. So this is a blues. It's a very specific form. You're going to be playing an E7 chord for 4 bars technically. Now there's a whole bunch of stuff written, and I'm going to teach it all to you, but technically you could literally just hold it, boom, 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 dun, 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 and you just hold it. There's no requirement. It's just this amount of time is an E. And so that brings up a point. There's only an E7 over that first measure. If you don't see a chord over the next measure, or any measures following that, that just implies that the same chord is still going. So you're not going to get to a new chord till A7, but there's going to be a whole bunch going on in between there. So if you wanted to, you could literally just pump the open E. Just groove that. I know we're just brand new to these, playing one note at a time, so it's all worth it. Okay, but that's the idea. So again, if anything I tell you is a little difficult, just feel free to just go right to the chord. And it doesn't even have to be an E7 chord, even though an E7 chord is easier than an E chord. You can literally just play a regular E chord. That's fine too. You can just do that. Down, down, and down, down. Okay, so that's the general groove. The second measure is exactly the same as this first one, but we're going to add a little stank on the end of it. So it's going to go. And so I'm going to abandon the chord, take my ring finger on the 6th string, even kind of my middle finger too, and I'm going to play that 3rd fret, and I'm going to bend that note sharp. Now, it's important when doing these bends that I've been talking about, it's really difficult to kind of master at first because the initial thing is to want to immediately bend, but what you, in a perfect world, you would have like 50%, maybe even 66-33, 50% at least of the normal note that's on the fret, and just the last end of it is when it goes sharp. So it's not, it's, so you can loop this one too. Okay, third one is exactly the same, but there's even more going on. You're going to play a triplet through the scale. So this one, this one. Second fret, open, second fret on the 5th string. Okay. Okay. Fourth measure is going to be slightly different. We're going to add the pinky in. And instead of going right back to the E, we're going to go back to the E7, but also add our pinky in. And then we're going to go 3 and 4 and so you're going from an 8th note into a triplet. So that measure again is. One more time. And from there it's going to an A. But let's recap. All 4 of them together would sound like this. To an A. So that's, again, that's the theme right there in a nutshell, is root, root, down, up, down. So it's 2 and 3. You can literally just do that 1 or any thereof. So this one in this measure is going to actually dance between the A and the A7. So it's going to go down on A, up on A7. So you just take your first finger off and back down on A. So you got. All of these measures should just be individual loops, honestly. Good. The second one is going to add the pinky in and do a very similar thing. You're going to go. Okay. So I'm doing the A7, but with the pinky on the 1st string on the 3rd fret, up on the open string, so just a normal A7, and then back down. And then it's kind of another little lick. So that's going to be 2nd fret on the 5th string, open 5th string, 3rd fret on the 6th string, slightly bent or not. You can just play it normal too. You don't get hung up on the bend. That's like the icing on the cake. And that's going to resolve to the open 6th string. So you got. Again, most of this is going to be advanced for you guys, and eventually I'm going to get through it. I know I'm running out of time here. I'm just going to get through this. I'm going to show you everything, and then I'm going to play it a couple times. I don't even care how long this episode is. I'm going to keep going. But that's the idea, right? Eventually, again, if you loop each individual measure, you're going to walk away with something. Even maybe one of them will be cool for you. But eventually, try and get them all, put them together. It'll sound pretty cool. So again, we're coming from that A. That measure right there, measure 20 at the bottom of the page, is exactly the same as the third measure in the song. Notice it has a different feel when you start to go faster. It's cool. So, and then this is going to get a little busier. That measure right there, measure 21, is the same as the fourth measure. So measures 3 and 4 are going to be the same as 7 and 8. Okay, so that helps reduce the equation a little bit. So we'll just keep pushing through. Measure 9, we're going to the B7. So again, first finger on the fourth string, first fret, middle finger on the second fret of the fifth string, ring finger on the second fret of the third string, pinky on the first string. Okay, so you're going to play the root twice. Down, down. And that's all you're going to need from it. Then we're going to play a lick, so it's going to go. Play the root again, and then you're going to play the open 6th string, and we're going to try a hammer on. So you're going to play the 6th string, but just throw your ring finger at the 6th string, and then play the 2nd fret on the 5th string. So it's going to go. And that's going to result in the open 5th string for an A. So again, it's going to go. Grab that A with the pinky, but again, if you don't grab the pinky, you can, it doesn't matter, it's the same, it's just slight variations. I'm just showing what you can do. So this one's immediately going to jump into the scale. You're going to go right down. So that one again. That's going to resolve to the E. And that measure right there, measure number 11, is exactly the same as measure number 1. And then the last measure is going to go. So you're going to play the open 6th string twice. Play the 4th fret. I'd really recommend the pinky just once. Then you're playing the open 5th string. Then the 1st fret on the 5th string. Then the 2nd string twice, which is actually the root of this B7. So you're going to want to grab that as you're playing that. So it's going to go. Okay, for time's sake, for sanity's sake, I'm just going to play it with the track, so I say I did it. It also, that measure 10 there, reminded me, a really good song to learn right now would be Rumble, you know. It's got all these 7 chords in it, and then so that scale that we worked on today is literally that lick. Just descending, starting on the 3rd fret. Great. Let's play it against the track, shall we? And then I'll explain what you should do with as extra credit, not a requirement for country grass. Evening Blues, here we go. 2, 3, and 4. Notice the riffs are done with the bass. get the idea, guys. Sorry, I wish we had more time to kind of hang with it. Anybody who's taking this course probably wouldn't be able to sit down and play that immediately today. I wouldn't expect you to. However, I'm sure some of you are totally grasping some of the measures. Just get good at one measure at a time. This is maybe a couple weeks down the road or even a couple months down the road. You're ready to really put it all together. That's fine too. Again, I just wanted today's lessons really kind of showing you, triplets, yes, 7th chords, yes, but really it's also about showing you kind of what's going to come at you if you wanted to further your journey in guitar world. So really quick, we're basically out of time. I think it's already an hour and I still got to take questions. So I'm just going to show you the concept of country grass. It's literally the exact same thing. Except we're using 7th chord versions of the song. So for instance, in the key of A, normally it's, but instead now it's going to go. So you can go back and work on those songs if you know it, and if you maybe you just want to have fun with it. But you can add these 7 chords in at any point, especially if there's 2 bars in a row. You can easily do, which there's not. Never mind. In theory, of a similar progression, you could do 1 bar of a normal A, and then the second bar would be an A7, which then wants to lead to D, kind of a thing. Just explore. All these notes can kind of be added in and taken away. It's fun. So if you were to do G7 and country grass and G, you would go like this. There's that other week where we did the walk-ups. You can throw those in there. Honestly, it's fine. Some of you might even like the way the normal chords sound better. This is just an excuse. The 7th chords don't come up too often. They do come up, and it's good to be able to make them, but the primary focus should be those basic 8 for sure. Don't stress out about these. These are just bells and whistles, huh? Let's take some questions. Let's get to some questions. One question we got is, how do you play? I'm gonna get it. It's not Night Train. What is it? He gave me the heads up and everything. That's All Right, Mama, by Elvis. And so it's sort of a hybrid between a couple different strum patterns. You're gonna get the kind of country grass thing going with the double. Totally work over the A, then it goes to a D and then an E. The 7 chords are particularly great for this tune, so I would do D7, probably an E7. And then that strum pattern is going to get a little trickier, so it's going to, I'm not trying to teach a song just because we can't, but just a general idea of the pattern would be, it kind of has this flipping back and forth, up, down, up, kind of... Yeah, what is it? Down, up, down, up, down. So, anyway. Coincidentally, Mystery Train. Keep wanting to say Night Train. That's a Oscar Peterson tune. Mystery Train is kind of similar to the blues thing that we did today as well. So that kind of thing is there's a Big River Grateful Dead tune does that. Johnny Cash covers it too. I think it's just a traditional. Let's see if we got some more questions. Taco Tuesday. Yes. What's the point of the alternate picking? It seems easy enough to do all downstrokes. Yeah, you can. There are people who just do all downstrokes. That's a thing. But if you think about maximizing efficiency of motion. If you gotta go back, you might as well get another stroke in there, so you get twice the amount of potential. So really, that's the idea behind the alternating picking. Again, there's different tone too. I mentioned that as well. So choose your tone wisely. Consistency is key, though. Let's see. Rebel Yell, little David Bowie. What's the difference between an E7, G7, and major 7 chord? Okay, so I think it's a little confusing. It's a little over the top for a course like this to really be worrying about it. But I mentioned it earlier. Here it is again. Essentially, all these chords are being pulled from a major scale. So a major scale is do, re, mi. So like if you start on an open string, 2nd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 9th fret, 11th fret, and 12th fret. That's a very specific formula every single time. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It's like a ruler. It's always going to sound like that. Where the chords come from is taking every other note. So instead of do, re, mi, you can think of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Chords go every other note, so we go 1, 3, 5, like skipping. 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6, 3, 5, 7, etc. And then when you play those notes together, that's where these chords coming from. So normally, triad is 1, 3, and 5. 7 chords, so go 1, 3, 5, 7. So that's major 7 when it goes to the natural 7, like if you were just in a major scale. But if you were to take a lowered 7, that doesn't sound like the major scale all of a sudden. It's technically still a major scale, and it will get the job done. It's called a mode. We're not going to worry too much about it, but essentially we're just going to go to the flat 7, the lowered 7th. So instead of the 11th fret, we play the 10th fret. When you play that together, it has a little more dissonant sound than here's major 7. Here's dominant 7, right? So the dominant 7 is a little more tension. That's literally what its whole purpose is. It wants to resolve back. So there's not a lot of open major 7 chords. Well, you can do it. So here's D versus D major 7, just straight across, or A versus A major 7. So notice we're playing the note that's right in between the note we normally play and the open note. For instance, in the A7. Play the first fret, the note in between, it's major 7. It sounds very pretty. And that looks to be all the questions we have for tonight. So thank you so much for hanging out. We only got 1 week left. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next time.